Hello and welcome to Too Old and Too Slow, and in this episode I'm at Silverstone racing in the HSCC season finale. So first on the agenda this weekend is testing. I paid for a full day. I wanted to give the car a good shakedown and also give myself a bit of a workout. So without further ado, let's see how I got on testing here at Silverstone. The weather is beautiful at Silverstone today. With testing, I try and come up with a plan for each session. This is an early session and I'm just making sure that the car is feeling balanced and coordinated in the setup. And also relearning the track. I haven't been here for a year. This is a mixed session, so you've got some very fast cars and some quite slow ones. And here we have a Formula Junior which came up against something much faster. I think that could have ruined both their weekends. The great thing about testing is it gives you time. I'm out in this session and the car is not sounding right. As you can hear in the audio, it's definitely sounding louder and I got a very distinct ticking sound. So I hook into the pits. This weekend I'm partnered with Shaws Motorsport. The contact information is in the description below. They are a fantastic organisation. So I'm going to hook into the pits and have a quick chat with Mark.
Broke, Richard. It snapped.
Mark Bates, the owner of Shaws Motorsport, gives a quick diagnosis. There's a problem. The exhaust is broken. This could be a showstopper, but with Mark's help, I managed to reattach the old exhaust back onto the car. And this is what the new one looked like. So I just need to whiz that back and get that repaired. So that was testing. Pretty uneventful, a few little interesting things, but I managed to do over 2 hours in the car today, and that really has taken its toll on my back. So the car's being stripped down. I've got to check everything, make sure we're ready to go for 9:30 tomorrow morning. So let's see how I got on in, first of all, a bit more free practice and then qualifying. The weather is distinctly different today and it's slippery out here. It's a very greasy surface, not like it was yesterday. So I need to be a little more cautious. I've made the car a little bit softer at the back, and as we can see, Nick Sheppard's gone around right in front of me. So I'd give him a little wave and drive past him. The purpose of this testing is to just get the feel of the conditions on the day, and it's slippery. I'm being super cautious. There's a drying line, but there goes Andy Gosling, an incredible driver who drives like he's on a dry surface. I'm struggling, but he's most definitely not. Right, it's time for qualifying, time to suit up and get ourselves out on track. Right, qualifying. The conditions have changed. The surface is now officially dry. So the car's set up in its dry configuration and I've got my usual qualifying plan. Right, I need to get out and get everything up to temperature. Get some heat in the tyres and get some heat in the brakes. Make sure the brakes work every time. Conditions aren't perfect, but it's definitely dry and I can really start to push a bit. These first 3 laps where I want to get everything up to temperature, I'm doing 107, which is a pretty slow time. Last year my fastest time was 106.6. As the session goes on, I'm pushing harder and harder, and I'm consistently doing a 106 dead. And then, out of the corner of my eye, in my mirrors, I see a green car. This is Phillips Sr. Around Luffield, I slow down, wave him through, and as soon as he's alongside, I go for it. He's in a Royale RP24, and the key is to sit on his gearbox, get as close as I can, and use him to drag me along. I've got to make sure I don't lose him, so I've got to push hard in the corners and brake as late as I can to make sure I get nice and close. In the winter I had my engine rebuilt by Nigel Lingwood. He's a very talented engine builder, and he's built an engine that can keep up with Phil on the straights. So I'm on his gearbox, and I just need to sit with him, follow his line, and he will drag me along. And with Phil's help, I managed to put in a 105.6. That's the fastest I've ever been around this track. So thanks a lot, Phil. After the session, we go to Parc Fermé. This gives the scrutineers an opportunity to look at the cars. I parked next to Jordan Harrison, one of the faster drivers out there. So that was qualifying. I'm really pleased with qualifying. I've qualified, I think, almost out of position. I got that amazing tow from Phil. It's lucky that he just appeared in my mirrors at the right time. I slowed down, picked him up, and managed to get in a really good lap. Best lap I've ever done here. Fastest lap I've ever done around this track. So that's good news. The weather conditions have changed, so let's see how I get on in the first race. There's been some rain between qualifying and the race. This gives us problems with setup. It's a drying track, so I've gone for a dry setup and hope that I'll be able to manage the conditions as we go on. But it's not an obvious setup choice. As I leave the assembly area, I want to test the grip. I'm going to give it a little bit of wheel spin and feel what the conditions are really like. As you can see, the surface is reflective, so that does point towards it being a very damp surface. And as you can see, someone in front of me has spun just leaving Parc Fermé. So it's time to get going on the first race. I raise the revs, look for the lights to go out, and we're off. The aim was to minimise wheel spin, and with that technique I've got nice and close to Phil in front, so if I can stick with him around the first few corners, maybe people will slide off and maybe I can gain a few places. And as we come into the Beckett's complex, everybody is being quite tentative. Looking ahead, I can see Andrew Smith in the red 1973 Van Diemen. He just loses grip, and that's an easy pass. He's a fast driver. I'm sure he'll get me back later. So trying to minimise the wheel spin. I'm bombing down the Wellington Straight to Brooklands, and this is a critical part of the track. I've got to pick a braking point as late as I can, but try and stop the car because it is very slippery here. And there we go, we got a spinner already. That spinner definitely compromised my line round Luffield. Luffield is a tricky corner in the wet. You've got to wait and wait and wait in second gear until you can put your foot flat on the accelerator. I want to avoid sliding off on the outside because there's a load of gravel which can pick you up. The compromised line around Luffield has slowed me down the straight. That gives Alan Fincham a chance to go up on the inside around Copse, and I lose a place. I have to now make the most of what I can get from Alan. I need to sit on his tail and use his toe to stay with him and hopefully overtake him in a corner or two's time. So with the car in front really still quite close, I'm going to try and out-drag Alan down the Wellington straight. At the end of the straight, we've got a left-hander into Brooklands, and Alan has the insider line. But as you can see, my pace is good. Around Brooklands, I'm a little slow and I'm compromised. I'm going to try and stick with Alan, but I just don't have that front end grip. The car is all over the place. And out of Luffield, Alan pulls away slightly, but I'll get him later. As the race settles into its middle phase, I need to just really concentrate on consistent lap times. The occasional back marker gets in the way, but I can get around them quickly enough. The conditions on track are changing. It's going from a greasy, slippery surface to something much, much drier. But there are patches where it's very slippery. What I need to do is show a little more confidence and push the car more and more every lap as the road surface dries. For the next few laps, I spend quite a lot of time looking in my mirrors, and I can see these cars coming towards me. Every lap they're getting a little bit closer. Another look in my mirrors and I can see that 17-year-old Grace Parkinson has caught me up. Throughout the season, Grace has been improving dramatically every race, and now I think I've got my hands full trying to keep her behind me. Through Woodcote, she's right on the edge of grip, little slide there, and she's gaining on me. She's in my toe. And I put the car in the middle of the track to make it hard for her, but no, she just drives around the inside and I lose the place. Grace is someone who I want to beat every race. She's in an identical car to me, a Crosley 25F, and the biggest disadvantage I have is my advancing years. Over the next few laps, I stick with Grace as closely as I can. Unknown to me, the camera battery is slowly dying. The battery eventually gives up the ghost just before a dramatic spin at Copse, and that propels me down from 10th place to 14th. A disappointing result in the end, but there's another race tomorrow.
Well, that was disappointing. To finish 14th was a shame. I was 9th at one point, but that's racing. Difficult conditions, changeable surface we're driving on. I wasn't the only one. There's people who are a lot faster than me who are going to finish, who finished behind me. So it's just the way it goes. Racing on a slippery surface is a little bit of a lottery at times. The fast people always be fast. But the people like me who are struggling, yeah, it's going to take time and confidence to find the speed in slidey conditions like that. So I'm at home editing the footage from the weekend. Race 2 was amazing. It was so good that to put it in this video would make this video impossibly long. No one wants to hear me droning on for 35 or 40 minutes. So what I've done is I'm turning this into a mini series, two-parter. So this is part 1, so thank you for watching part 1, and please keep an eye out for part 2. Part 2 is a brilliant race. There's action pretty much at every corner, and it's quite a lot of heavy race footage. If that's your thing, I think you'll enjoy it. It's definitely worth hanging around for a few days, and hopefully it'll drop into your algorithm on YouTube, and you'll be able to watch race 2. I find it incredible that 90% of the people watching now are not subscribers. It costs you nothing. Click the button, subscribe, and you'll be informed every time there's a new video released. I've got a great new winter project coming up, and that's definitely worth a watch. So please consider subscribing. If you like what you've seen, give me a thumbs up. That's good for the algorithm. And also, please put comments below. I read every single one. So, thank you for watching, and I will speak to you next time.